Hello, my name is Chris Youngward and this is my game engine demo. So what you see here is a culmination of a bunch of ideas I had and a limited amount of time to do them. So like any good programmer, I chose quantity over quality. But I got all the basic ideas in place. Um, so what I wound up with is what I view as a massive prototype, which I'm probably going to wind up throwing away and starting over before the next class, and then probably throwing away and starting over like 3 more times. But let's go through some of the features. So as for objects, we have 3 primitive objects. We have the box, one of which you can see rolling around in front of me right now. We have the pyramids. This pyramid in front is actually the main character. He can move around the screen and he can jump. There's another pyramid bouncing around. And then the other primitive object is a square. And the ground is made up of a grid of 50 by 50 squares with different textures. So we can spawn additional objects. There's another moving box and there's another bouncing pyramid. And these are attached to a motion manager, which contains a rolling cube motion and a bouncing pyramid motion. We can also spawn additional boxes. And the boxes have collision detection, so they won't fall through each other. But the pyramids don't have collision detection, so the pyramids can go right through the boxes. But you can just create a whole bunch of boxes here, get the screen filled with some objects. Okay, that's probably enough. So let's take a look at the camera controls. So the main camera is attached to me. You can see all these white lines here. This is coming from the wireframe frustum. I don't know, I haven't had a chance to figure out why these lines are all here or get rid of them, but they're there. If we switch to the God's Eye camera, you can see that all of the objects that aren't within the frustum are being aborted and not drawn. We can move the near plane and it'll start getting rid of some of the near objects. If we get it just right, we should be able to switch back to the main camera and see a hole in the pyramid. So we move the near frame and it shaves away everything that's close. If we move the near frame all the way back to 0, we can see the whole world. So the God camera can move in circles around the pyramid, and it can zoom in and zoom out. So for camera controls, we've played with the near frame. We can play with the far plane, move it in closer, and eventually it should shave off the edge of the world. There we go. And if we look at that through the main camera, we won't see very much. Move the far plane back out. So each of the primitive objects contain a VBO. Oh, I forgot to do field of view. So let's get a good camera angle here. So we can adjust the field of view also, a wide field of view and a narrow field of view. Looking at that from the main camera, looks like this. Okay, now back to VBOs. So each of the primitive objects has a VBO, contains an array of points and an array of triangles. And these are each stored in a file. So each object has its own file. There we go. Each object has its own file that stores the vertex array object and the triangle list. And also the ground is stored in a file. So the ground is a grid of 50 by 50 squares, and the texture for each square is stored in this file. So as a separate project in this solution, I have a file generator, and it has all the values hard-coded into it for the ground and all of the objects on the screen. So for rendering modes, I have a few triangles, or have a few pyramids over here drawn with light and a wireframe. All of the pyramids on the screen have their light source coming from the same location as the camera, or the active camera, whereas all the cubes on the screen are getting their light source from a light manager, which is putting the light off in the air somewhere. So the cubes are going to have a dark side to them, and the pyramids are not. And then the texture manager, you can see that cube off in the distance. I've chosen to make my setting Seattle. So there's the Space Needle, and over there is Mount Rainier. And just for the hell of it, there's an upside down smiley face. So the texture manager stores each of the textures and allows you to swap between them. So I think that's everything.